Okay, this space behind me is not in my home. It's not in a garage. It's a tiny house. It's not where I live, it's where I create. And honestly, it changed everything. Before this, my creative space was the laundry room, and it was challenging to say the least. So finally, I'm giving you a tour 2 years after I stepped in and made it my own. This isn't just a tour. This is a story of how I turned it into a beautiful space for my creativity and why this little house on wheels became the center of my creative life. When my family and I moved to a new house several years ago, there were not a whole lot of options for having a creative space. For a long time, I worked out of our laundry room because that was the only place that had a free countertop with extra storage and cupboards. It wasn't perfect, but at the time it was enough. I was grateful to have a space at all. I know that's not something everyone gets. But over time I started to feel this friction. Not frustration, but more like the space didn't match the way I wanted to feel while I was creating. I didn't have a place to sit, so my working sessions were limited to how long I could stand, and I'd lose momentum, or I'd hesitate to start something big or messy. I realized I wasn't wishing for more space, I was wishing for a different space. And that's what led us to the tiny house idea. During the COVID pandemic, things changed a lot for people. All of a sudden, families were spending a lot of time at home, and I think that's when my husband and I really noticed the lack of space in our home. Luckily, we had a sizable yard, and we had the idea of an office in the backyard. After some research, we found a company that built tiny homes. They're called Wind River, and they're located in Tennessee. Our experience with working with them was awesome. They met with us several times online to talk about the design, and they were really flexible with the design. There were things that we didn't need for our space, such as a kitchen sink and countertops. So for them to be able to accommodate was really great. Now the model for this tiny house is called the Pingora, and what's special about it is the reverse loft. The sleeping area is below, and upstairs you could do kind of like a living room or an office space, whatever you can imagine. It's 24 feet long and a little bit under 8 feet wide. The reason why we like this model is because we kind of like that flexibility of having a space in case we had relatives come over or a sleepover for the kids. Most of the time while I'm in here, it's my 2 little furry friends who come in and check things out and hang out with me. We also chose to have a loft on the second side above. We just use that for storage. So it was built in Tennessee, and then we had it shipped out to California. So there's this weird pressure when you get to design something from scratch. You want to get it right, but there's no rule book. When I imagined the aesthetic, I kept on thinking about cozy and familiar, kind of like my grandma's house. That comforting, lived-in feeling. I thought about lace curtains because that's what my grandmother had. I thought about a shelf clock and plants and classical style wall art, things like that. How I came up with the color palette was that I bought this garland at the Michael's craft store to somewhat disguise or soften this railing barrier, and I realized I loved the color scheme. I took a picture of it and I went to my local paint store to get swatches. The main piece of furniture that would center the entire space would be this china hutch. Even before the tiny house arrived, I was thinking about a hutch in here, and I had the perfect one in mind. In our previous house, we had this china hutch in our kitchen. I had painted it gray to fit the colors of the house, but I knew that if I brought it into the tiny house, I'd have to repaint it. So I looked at my color swatches, and I picked the green. I repainted it, but I decided to keep the doors off the upper shelves. I wanted those shelves to be more accessible, and I also knew that the light would reflect off the glass, which wouldn't be good for recording. On Etsy, I found a roll of floral decals, similar to my color palette, and it was relatively straightforward to cut out some sections and put them on the hutch. For the lower doors, I also added a bit of gold paint as an accent and found the pulls at my local antique mall. There isn't a lot of width in this tiny house. It's less than 8 feet across, but I knew I needed a table workbench. I found this work table from the brand Husky, and it's been such a great fit in the way it looks and how it functions. It raises and lowers with this manual lever, and the drawers are great for storing large size papers. It's also on wheels, so I can roll it to different spots. I have a small desk upstairs. It's just big enough for a computer and a keyboard, but doesn't take up too much space. The other piece of furniture I have upstairs is this slim bookshelf. I got it cheap at a garage sale, and I picked the dark pink from my set of colors. I actually painted the whole thing this dark pink, but I didn't like it, so I made the area inside light pink, and it looks so much better. I added more of the decals to the side, and I've been enjoying adding things to these shelves over time. Other smaller furniture pieces are this IKEA standing desk and these wall shelves, which were custom built for the space. I had originally looked for something like a small bookshelf that could go here, but there wasn't enough room. These 6 shelves have been so useful for holding all my rubber stamps. My final piece of furniture is this little piece. I wanted something small that could function as my inbox, the place where I stored incoming mail. I finally settled for a bathroom vanity cabinet that I got from Amazon. I painted it light pink, stenciled it, and then flipped it the other way around so that the shelf is on the top rather than the bottom. And then I attached feet to it. In regards to how I use the spaces, upstairs I have a computer and monitor, and that's where I edit my videos. I record downstairs, just like this, most often with me sitting at my work desk. I have a camera mount mounted to the windowsill, which holds both my camera facing me and a separate overhead camera for filming my desk while I work. I have a large key light that's on a stand with wheels, and I can roll it around the space and store it in the bathroom when it's not in use. Speaking of the bathroom, since I'm not using this tiny house as a living space, the water and sewer are not hooked up. When it was being built, it wasn't an option to not have a bathroom, but that's okay. For resale purposes, it's good to have. The space is actually more valuable to me as a closet, so that's what I use it for. Speaking of storage, I am a collage artist and I use a lot of different kinds of papers. You might be wondering, how do I store my papers and what do I keep close and accessible? My work desk is where I create, and from here I have access to quite a lot. The main bulk of my papers are located in these 3 drawers here. I also have a lot in this hutch. I love using these magazine holders. I turn them around so that the low part is in the front, and it's such a great way to store papers vertically. To my right, I have this small Alpha craft cart that holds my scissors and glue, inks, and in general things that help me create. And then on top of that, I have these acrylic shelves that hold smaller paper bits. Often what I do is swap out papers when I get tired of sifting through the same thing. The cabinets hold things that I don't need at my fingertips. Someone asked me if I find myself acquiring more things because I have the space to store it. Overall, I would say no. I'm pretty good at not gathering things just because they're nice to have. I'm pretty good at being careful about what I bring into my creative space. Early on, I realized that having more things slows down my creativity and I'm not efficient when I have too much stuff, so I try to avoid it. One huge part of effective organization is understanding what organizing type you are. If you look around my creative space, you will notice that I don't have a lot of art supplies out on display. This is intentional. For some creatives, it's preferable to have all the things out. The rolls of ribbon and all the pens and colored papers and inks, all the supplies are visible. I don't want to see it. It calms my mind to have those things away in cupboards and instead have my space look more like a sitting room or a study. I talk about discovering your organization style in this video. If you haven't done the quiz to figure out your style, I highly recommend that you do so. I'll put the link in the description. Why do I recommend the quiz? Because once you understand your organizing style, you can arrange your space into the way that is the most comfortable for you. So, is this space all that I hoped it would be? No, actually, it's more than what I thought it could be. In the beginning, I was really concerned that it was going to be too small, that I wasn't going to be comfortable in here. And now, after 2 years, I can say that I really do love it. I wasn't in a rush to fill up the space, and so over 2 years, I've slowly been gathering things, found a really beautiful lamp from Facebook Marketplace, stuff at garage sales, and that's been really rewarding and really fun. So, thoughts, observations, questions? One question I didn't answer that somebody asked, do I share this space with anyone else? Besides the pups, that is. Sometimes my kids come in to study, and sometimes my husband has a conference call or whatever that he takes upstairs. So, but for the most part, it is me, about 95% of the time. Thanks so much for stopping by.